Petrol. Now let's go through the newspapers this morning and share with you some of the big conversations happening across Nigeria in the newspapers. We are joined by public affairs analyst and executive director, Lead Network Africa, Chukwuma Kenwa. Good morning, Mr. Kenwa. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, good morning. Thank you so much.
Good to have you. Now, we begin on the Daily Trust newspapers this morning. It should be on your screen in a second. Yes, it says there, FCT and states lose trillions of naira to unpaid ground rents. FCTA owed 34 billion naira, recovers 2 billion naira in 2 days. Also, why states are not getting ground rents. That's also something you can find on the Daily Trust newspapers this morning. Boko Haram kills a soldier and 5 passengers in Borno ambush. We can also find their Daily Trust, Trust TV. Okay, well, not a very relevant story. Tinubu orders rescue of abducted Zamfara varsity students. It's also something you can find there. And at the bottom of your screen, there it says, Wike revokes more plot in Abuja, issues ultimatum to embassies and 168 orders. If you remember, over the weekend, there was also some controversy over news headline claiming that the Labour Party candidate, Peter Obi, was one of those whose property was revoked by Nyesom Wike, the FCT minister. But apparently that turned out to be not a very true story. I think the final story there, flood destroys 70 houses in Cross River, is the last one we're going to be taking. It's okay, well, I want you to quickly react to the story on the abducted Zamfara varsity students. It seems like we're back to hearing about kidnappings and the likes in northern Nigeria again.
Yeah, quite really unfortunate. And has been advocated over the time, there is actually a need to decentralize the issue of security. Because once again, it's really embarrassing when such thing happens and all eyes are on the center. All eyes are once more on Mr. President, blaming President Tinubu for what happened in a state where you have both a chief executive officer and a chief security officer. I think it ought not to happen in a federal state like Nigeria. We need to kind of unbundle the security architecture of the country, and most importantly, get the governors as the chief security officers indeed of their state. And most importantly also, since there are 3 tiers of government and security is very pivotal, security is key, because as long as governance is concerned, security and welfare still remains the primary essence of governance. And local government also should be able to come into that, so that people should be able to, through community policing, through citizen engagement, people can both gather intelligence and address security issues. It doesn't just make any sense that once more we are back to the days of the bring back our gears and now it's bring back our sisters. I mean, it's really a call to review our security architecture and ask ourselves, how efficient has it been and what more can we do better?
Absolutely. All right. In the interest of time, let's quickly go to the Vanguard newspapers this morning so we can find. Away from the Daily Trust, Vanguard, it says here, NLC battles OPS over stand on planned nationwide strike. The NLC alleges plots to sabotage the struggle on palliatives. Top of the screen, Nnamdi Kanu's attorney, Bruce Fain, renews call for his release. Also, Wike revokes 22 allocations, gives 21 embassies 168 others 3 months grace. Serap to Tinubu probe missing $15 billion and 200 billion naira oil revenue. Manufacturers incur heavy losses as forex crisis and inflation bite harder. And which other story that we could quickly, I think we can stop here. But it's okay, well, let's have you speak on the planned nationwide strike by the NLC and maybe also the okay, well, I'll come back. Okay, well, the probe of missing $15 billion and 200 billion naira oil revenue. But start with the NLC proposed strike. They were meant to have a 21-day grace period, which has expired, and they are threatening that from tomorrow they might be going on a nationwide strike to probe the government's handling of the removal of subsidy and, of course, the failure of government to provide subsidy to Nigeria, not subsidy, palliatives now to Nigerians.
I think the NLC can do better in terms of its engagement with the federal government. We should be long past the phase of trying to use like a strike action to get things done. Because guess what? The next thing is the federal government will go ahead of the NLC, which we've also seen like that attempt initially when NLC threatened the federal government that should it go on with the intended court action, that it's also going to renege on its own position. So I expect them to be smarter now with the Nigerian politicians, who would always want to use the system against the people in terms of engagement. What more can they do better? Is it really possible for now the NLC to, first of all, engage more Nigerians to understand the point of holding the legislature very responsible in terms of playing the critical role of oversight function on all executive arms and including the executive themselves in terms of government? Because when things like this are happening, whether it's in maybe want to interrogate the sharing of the palliative, I mean, government is already summarized. The legislature is there to interrogate, to what extent was that money or was the palliative distributed? What were the parameters? What data were used? It's actually the legislature that is charged with that. And unfortunately, they are not living up to that. And then the second issue that we see in the newspaper today, which is very important, like as Serap has put up a call to President Tinubu to investigate the issue of about 15 something billion, right?
Yeah, $15 billion
is that
and about $200 billion,
right?
Yes.
that's quite a lot. And this is interesting for like a nation that is actually looking for money, but the money is there and there's a lot of fraud that is being covered. I mean, our elected leaders have all of the support of the citizens to both probe previous administrations, investigate issues of, fraudulent conversion of the systems for personal gains, some forms of rentage system that people have where they feel entitled to get certain amount of money from the system, whether monthly, quarterly, and at the end of the day, this money is actually should be things that should have been invested into critical infrastructure, and of course, reviving Nigeria's ailing economy. But unfortunately, a nation that needs more, even the little it has, is being stolen and converted into private pockets.
Okay, well, it's majorly the reality of many sectors here in Nigeria, and Serap is not the only one, of course, that is demanding some clarity and some auditing of Nigeria's oil sector, kind of the continued allegations of Nigeria's oil being stolen and not, getting into government coffers. I'm going to quickly get a story from the Daily Sun, have you react to it, and then we move on to the next conversation. The Daily Independent this morning, it says their new acting CBN governor deputy's assumption of office wrong. We can also find their insecurity. Ohaneze advocates non-kinetic approach in Southeast. And Tinubu asks security agencies to rescue abducted Zamfara students. Disagreement trails extension of AOC for NG Eagles Airlines, Nigerian Eagles Airlines. Mr. Akinwa, quickly react to the story, which is what we're going to be speaking about next. It says that Ohaneze advocates non-kinetic approach in Southeast, and that's with regards insecurity. The new DG of Ohaneze Ndigbo, of course, was speaking yesterday and made these statements. I was speaking over the weekend and made these statements about non-kinetic approach to tackle insecurity. Also spoke, briefly about reaching out to people in Finland to maybe, get their support in ending.
Okay, yeah, I think his statement actually was a build-up of a meeting that was held at the Old Government Lodge. That was on Wednesday last week. Interestingly, I was there as a stakeholder in security and, of course, in the Southeast. Where we had some guests from the Nigeria Resource Center, and of course the Peace Building Development Consult, where I'm equally an associate, and then alongside with the security advisors of the 5 Southeast governors, and the team. That particular conference was themed exploring non-kinetic options, and that simply means no use of arms, no use of force, no use of all of the operations we've seen in the Southeast, whether it's Operation Python Dance, or Operation Crocodile Smiles, and all of those codenamed operations, to now seek for what are the things leading to some of those agitations, the concerns of marginalization, the issue of unprovoked, or would I say, like unnecessary incarceration of Mazen Namdekano, right? Up till now, even despite, the fact that a competent court, with a competent jurisdiction, have also declared him a free man. I mean, a nation should be able to obey its own laws. And one of it is when you have like a court saying, okay, fine, he should be freed, he should have his freedom. I mean, that doesn't stop the further trials maybe at the Supreme Court. And the government must learn to like obey court orders, because when things like this happen, it creates that bad blood. Someone begins to think, is it because he's an Igbo man that he's still being incarcerated, he's still being denied of his freedom? So some of these agitations, government should be concerned that every Monday in the Southeast, largely in most part of the Southeast, you still see businesses closed, right? You still see like some kind of a concern, that tension. And government should be able to like get into that by assuading. And it's not going to happen through military intervention. It's going to happen by, once more restoring the confidence in the people that they are part of the One Nigeria project. And that Igbos truly are not just tenants, but of course, co-stakeholders, landlords in the nation called Nigeria. That assurance needs to come. And with that, I'm sure that we're going to have, more results than the use of force.
We'll see how it goes. Thanks very much, Chukwuma Okewa, for stopping by and for sharing your thoughts with us on the newspapers.